Hey everybody, hope you're doing great. Let's continue our reading of the Sword of Allah. It's been getting into a lot of details now, talking about Abu Bakr and we're talking about Osama's army, and now we're dealing with the apostate period. Okay, let's continue. The apostates at Zukisa sent a delegation to Abu Bakr. "We shall continue the prayers," said the delegates, "but we shall not pay any taxes." Abu Bakr would have none of it. "By Allah," he replied, "if you withhold a single ounce of what is due from you, I shall fight you. I allow you 1 day in which to give your reply." Dang, so they refused to pay their taxes. The envoys were taken aback by the determination and confidence of the new Khalid, who seemed to be entirely unaware of the weakness of his position. And he had given them 1 day. I mean, sometimes they say, what is it? Fortune favors the bold, baby. The following morning, before a single day's ultimatum had expired, the envoy slipped out of Medina, which meant a rejection of Abu Bakr's demands. Okay, so they are like, hey, we're out of Medina. That sends them answer, essentially. Soon after their departure, Abu Bakr sent his own envoys to all the apostate tribes, calling upon them to remain loyal to Islam and continue to pay their taxes. But the apostate's envoy from Zukisa, before leaving Medina, had had a look at the place, and their keen eyes had noticed the absence of warriors. On returning to Zukisa, they told their comrades about their conversation with Abu Bakr, and they were very vulnerable state of Medina. Meanwhile, Tuleha, who was now at Samira, had reinforced the apostates at Zukisa with a contingent under his brother Hibal. Oh my gosh! Okay, so he's in Samira and he's like, okay, send some reinforcements for my brother Hibal. Huh, whoa. A wily and resourceful general. Well, sure sounds like it. When the apostates heard the reports of the envoys, the temptation proved too much for them. They decided to have a crack at Medina while it was still defenseless. Consequently, the force at Zukisa moved forward to Zuhusa, from where, after forming a base, part of the force advanced still nearer Medina and went into camp, preparatory to attacking the town. It was now the 3rd week, July 632, late Rabi'ul Akhir, 11 al-Hijri. Okay, so, wow, they formed a base, and pretty near to Medina. Well, this is going to get intense then. Let's see what happens. Abu Bakr received intelligence of this move and at once undertook the organization of defense at Medina. The snakes done came in, man. They're lurking. The main army was out under Osama, but Medina was not as defenseless as the rebels had imagined. Quite a few warriors were still there, especially from the clan of Bani Hashim. Okay, so look at that. Bani Hashim are in Medina and they're going to hold it down. Let's see. The Prophet's own clan. Okay, so that's right. So I'm going to write that again. The own clan of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be with him, is the Bani Hashim, who had remained behind to mourn their departed kinsmen. From these remnants, Abu Bakr scraped together a fighting force. The confidence of Abu Bakr never... Okay, hold on, look. There's an awesome map here. Ajah, Hill, Kafar, Buzara, Salma, Gamra, Samira, Hazm, Butha, Nibaj, Bureda, Zukisa, the Abarak, Kebar, Medina. Here you go, fam, look. You get to see the situations there. Alright, Abu Bakr, he may be old, but he's flexing. He's letting them know. Pay your taxes. Shaken was strengthened by the thought that he had such stalwarts with him as Ali, Zubair bin al-Awwan, and Talha bin Ubaidullah. Okay, so he's got squad, right? He's got Ali, Zubair, and Talha. Each of these was appointed to command 1/3 of the newly created force. Dang, man, they've seen so many battles and they're still alive, right? That's pretty trippy. You start out like leading this whole, going through so many battles, and then you're still alive and you're going into a new one with the new caliphate leader. I mean, that's intense, man. Those kind of people, they are really fortified back then. Just, what did they think about? For 3 days nothing happened. The apostates, uncertain of how they should set about their task, remained inactive then. On orders from Abu Bakr and the Muslims sailed out of Medina. They launched a quick attack on the forward camp of the apostates and drove them back. The apostates withdrew to Zuhusa. The Muslims informed Abu Bakr of their success, and the Caliph ordered them to stay where they were and wait his instructions. Okay, so they're like, hey, mission is doing well. They sailed. Now that's cool. What did those kind of ships look like? I like looking at the ships. What did their ships look like? Wonder what the sails and the masts, what do they look like? The following day, Abu Bakr set out from Medina with a long string of pack camels, for the riding camels had all gone with Usama, and these inferior camels were the best that Abu Bakr could muster in the way of transportation. Okay, so that's cool. There's a difference. Well, obviously, I get it. Yeah, that's right. Like a mule is gonna be is different than like a Clydesdale function, or an Arabian who's gonna be doing like different show, jumping over obstacles, versus like a thoroughbred, something else horse that's gonna do a different sport. So naturally, there's gonna be camels that are for in war, and then others just for pack. But that's pretty cool that they call it a string, because they are kind of in a string, right? That's cool. The following day, Abu Bakr set out from Medina. As the convoy got to the abandoned apostate camp, the Muslims who had driven the apostates away mounted these camels, and the force advanced towards Zuhusa, the apostate base. Okay, so that's right. Zuhusa is the apostate base. Convoys heading up. Here the enemy waited, and Hibal, the brother of Tuleha, showed his military cunning. He kept his men behind the crest of a slope. Okay, so the slope is here. He's here on the backside, right at the crest. Some distance ahead of the base towards which the Muslims were advancing. So he's ahead, and they're coming. He's behind that hill right there. How are they gonna do? Tricky. The Muslims mounted their pack camels, rode up the slope unaware of the enemy who waited just beyond the crest. When the unsuspecting Muslims got near the crest, the apostates stood up and hurled upon the forward slope a countless number of goatskins filled with water. That's weird. As these goatskins rolled down the crest towards the Muslims, a wild din arose from the apostates' ranks as they hammered on drums and screamed at the top of their voices. A wild din arose. What does that mean? That din, D-I-N. Just like a scene of chaos? The pack camels, untrained for battle and not used to sudden loud noises or the sight of unfamiliar objects rolling towards them in large numbers, turned and bolted. Oh, the poor camels. That's so true, though. They're not trained for that. I love watching how they train the security dogs to handle like gunfire. They're just fearless dogs, right? They're just beautiful, just creatures. Is much different than like your typical house dog, the golden retriever dog or a Labrador or a Labradoodle, right? They get like afraid of anything. They'll watch somebody murder you. So it's like, yeah, camels, they have the same thing. The Muslims did their utmost to control their panic-stricken mounts, but failed, and very soon the entire Muslim force was home again. Hibal had reason to feel pleased with himself. He had pulled a fast one on the Muslims and driven them back to Medina without, so to speak, firing a shot. Okay, that's true. He didn't have to kill anybody, but they confused the camels who were not war camels. But the funny part is, though, it's like you gotta wonder, like, how did they know that trick would work? Do you think they knew that what kind of camels were left behind, or maybe they could look at those camels and see like clearly they are not war camels, right? Maybe some were a little bit truddy, like they like look a little old maybe, and then they're like, nah, these camels, we can spook them, right? I guess because like if I can tell what kind of dogs are jittery, like you can look at some dogs and be like, weak ass, that weak dog, you know. And but then there's some dogs where you're like, oh snap, I'm gonna like don't look at it, don't make eye contact with it, you know. So good point. I guess they must have really known then. Hmm. In view of this clever trick with Hibal pulled off, it is possible that the preceding apostate withdrawal had been a feint planned by Hibal to draw the Muslims out of the security of their town towards Zuhisa. Drawing them out, we do not know. But Hibal now made the mistake of assuming that the Muslims were frightened and that their hasty move back to Medina was a sign of weakness. He did not know that the Muslims were mounted on pack camels, and that it was these animals that had panicked and not the men who rode them. Oh, okay. So that clarifies earlier what I thought then. Maybe, so you have the view of did they know or didn't they know? But it's a cool distinction, like, no, you just couldn't control, like, he want to go where he want to go, and you're like, well, I guess we're going over here now, because he's freaking out. I mean, camels, they don't buck, right? So it's different than, like, a horse, because a horse, he gets freaked out, he's gonna, and you're gonna go on the ground, maybe, or he's gonna run, but the reins kind of pull that in, and stuff, so, yeah, that's a bit more intense. Interesting to think about, but it was